Ojalá que te vaya bonito.
1962. In Chavez Ravine, a few miles from downtown Los Angeles, baseball fans crowd the bleachers of the brand new Dodger Stadium to welcome their team from Brooklyn. The stadium sits on 170 acres of freshly cleared land that 12 years earlier was home to over 300 families. The neighborhoods of La Loma, Bishop, and Palos Verdes, the neighborhoods of Chavez Ravine.
7 decades ago, La Loma, Bishop, and Palo Verde were home to many Mexican American families. Families that were redlined and unable to relocate to other communities settled into these neighborhoods. After building their own communities, these families suffered discrimination due to their races and lost their houses as a result. The city started attempting to persuade the owners of Chavez Ravine to sell. There was a lot of pressure, yet many residents refused. Developers paid homeowners in cash right away for their properties. Residents were afraid they wouldn't receive a fair price if they held out since they offered the other homeowners less money. In other instances, authorities took possession of land and evicted occupants by using eminent domain power. The families were promised residency in the new housing facility that was supposed to be built there, but it never happened. Once word spread of the cancellation of the facility, former residents of the barrios demanded the return of their land and houses. But the Los Angeles mayor purchased back Chavez Ravine, claiming it would be used for the public good, disobeying the cries of local Mexican population.
So these are the families of Chavez Ravine. Having known what happened, do you think what happened with them is fair?
I don't think it's fair in any kind of way, shape, or form. I think that's really unfair and just a horrible thing to do to anybody. I don't think it's really worth to build a stadium and taking people's like homes and basically their lives.
Yeah, I would say that it's not cool because I think that that's like such a personal thing, you know. I think that owning your property also means that that belongs to you.
Mm.
So for someone to come in and take your property is like taking a part of you too.
Do you think what happened to those families is fair?
No, of course not. That does not sound like a fair situation. It's almost reminiscent of other situations that have happened in America, such as like the Native American land being taken. So no, it is not fair.
Historically, white people easily got mortgages to live in America's nicest areas, while aspiring racial ethnic home buyers from the inner city were refused loans from banks and federal programs. This is what we call redlining. Redlining can be defined as discriminatory practice that consists of the systematic denial of services such as mortgages, insurance loans, and other financial services to the residents of certain areas based on their race or ethnicity. This racially discriminatory mortgage lending practice, which gripped the nation in the 1930s before its ban in the 1960s, created a racial wealth gap and neighborhoods that lacked health promoting assets like healthcare, jobs, and transportation options.
Does Chavez Ravine mean anything to you?
I do not believe I've heard of the Chavis Ravine, so no.
Does the Chavez Ravine mean anything to you guys? Have you guys ever heard of it?
No, it doesn't sound familiar to me.
No.
Me too. I don't know.
Approximately 1,100 homes were destroyed in the Chavez Ravine, except no one called it that. It was Palo Verde, La Loma, and Bishop where families were forcibly removed under false pretenses and broken promises. Buried under the blue, many families, like the Arechiga and the Montalvo family, are speaking up about the cruelties they were faced with. With the promise of a better relocation and cash for their properties, many families walked away content, not knowing that they would never see what the rich men promised, nor able to afford to live a comfortable life.
Not a lot of people get to engage with all of that. And I think it's important that we talk because the three communities is not just Palo Verde, La Loma, and Bishop. They're your communities too that are being attacked right now. And some people are feeling this because I talk to a lot of people throughout the city on losing their housing. And that means that when you feel insecurities of not being able to afford your house, that is what Palo Verde felt. When you look at the issues of worrying all the time because you don't know what's going to happen at the end of the month, That's exactly what our people felt. And those feelings should never have been come across to us in this rich, state, but they have. And that's something later down the road that Buried Under the Blue is trying to push out, because we want to talk more about the history. And then after we understand the history, what does the solution look like? What does a modern day Indigenous person look like trying to fight and combat these things while still going through the trauma?
I can still see the remnants of the tragedy in my family, even in myself and my children. And so, I think that these are important things that we need to understand, that housing is very important to our people, to be able to be stable and a foundation where you don't have to worry about those things so that you can grow to your full potential and thrive, and really find your purpose is very important.
And I said, man, we got to do it now. We got to do it now or never. So I think it was 2 outs. And then I think the pitcher had just pitched the ball. And that's when, I went first. As soon as I walked, I jumped the wall. I just booked it. I just walked to the middle and I see Mookie Betts smiling at me. And I was just running past. And it was the best. We met with one of the moms of the families. Obviously, she started telling me that she remembers she was 15 years old when she and her mom were pulled out of their house because they had to leave. And one of her house was the one, I think, that was bulldozed, and then they forced them out of the house. And when she was crying to me, telling how grateful she was for us running on that field, to me, that was the best thing.
I was so blown away by the activists that participated in this. I was so honored. I jumped out of my seat. I couldn't believe it. I almost fell to the ground. I was so happy, jumped up, jumped down, jumped all around. I was just, because to me that was a big deal that they did that they put themselves on the line to do that.
Tengo los bolsillos vacíos, los labios partidos, la piel con escama cada vez que miro hacia el vacío, las suelas gastadas, las manos atadas.